Alright, today we get started on going to install a pickup into this acoustic, this Court. It already has a Fishman under the saddle UST. I'm going to take this out and remove everything from the original pickup system, and we'll be putting in this JJB, I think that's what it is. Yeah, JJB Electronics bridge plate pickup. It has a small volume control. It's obviously very similar to like a K&K. I think they might be involved in some legal issues. I don't know, but much bigger transducers. Like these are, I think, 20 millimeter versus 10 or something on this unit. So supposedly these, get a lot fuller sound. They get a little more bass response. Apparently, not so much high end. I'll be interested to hear how it sounds, just because I put a lot of those other ones in. So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to try to patch up this hole when we take all this out. And the owner of the guitar isn't too worried about the aesthetics of it. He's like, yeah, I'll probably put a sticker over it or something. But I've got some cutouts from other guitar pickup installations of the past that, I don't know, match okay. I got some more. I'll maybe find something and fit it in there and try to make that hole go away, and we'll see how this JJB pickup sounds. Alright, so now I'm going to put in the transducers of this pickup guy. And usually what I do on these kind of styles is I just make sure I kind of clean off some naphtha or something. Just make sure I wipe and clean off these pads really good. Any oil or anything that's on them, get them off. And you can even like take a little 800 grit or 1000 grit and kind of scuff them a little bit to give them a little bit of bite for the glue, but not necessarily necessary. But I just like to make sure they're good and clean. They come with a little system with like some golf tees and things that go down in here. I'm going to use this guy, which is an LR Bags thing, that because I just put an LR Bags pickup in. They got a system like this now with 2 transducers, and I put that in for somebody recently, and it came with this little jig for putting them in, which is pretty cool. I mean, I've gotten so good at them that I can just reach in there with my hand and I can kind of look for it through the holes. I put a flashlight down inside there and then just pull it out and stick it to the bridge plate without any of this stuff, because I've done it a million times. But I'm going to use this to go in there, at least try it. And another thing I do is I'll take a little bit of like 320 grit sandpaper like this. I'll go in there and just kind of with the grain on the bridge plate, sand it, clean it, just get any of the rough wood splinters off. Also take a little naphtha paper towel or shop towel and go in there and just give it a good cleaning, where I'm going to be sticking these things, and get rid of any dust and etc. where I'm going to be gluing them. So I got my end pin jack drilled, so I'm going to just put that down in there. It's going to go in later. This is the volume That's going to go in the sound hole later, but first things first, we'll do these transducers, and there's just 1, 2, 3. They go under the saddle on the bridge plate. The wires pointing forward usually, and it doesn't really matter. They're all the same, so whichever one goes on treble, bass, middle. So this thing's kind of cool. It's got these little guys, and this body is kind of shallow on this quart, so hopefully I can weasel it. Hard to get your hand in under there, but then those just come up and I can lock those. It's tempting to try to do all 3 of them at once, but I'm just going to do one at a time, I guess. Try to keep it simple. So I just got some of this double stick tape, small spots on there. I don't want too much. I want enough to hold that thing, but I don't want to pull the transducer back off after I've got it in place, so I want this tape to give way from it. If I can get that off. And we'll go with this one, and I kind of know where I want it to be. There's this little, it's got this little grid ruler on there, which is kind of right where the saddle is. So I'm going to put one, you know, they kind of tell you to put it in between the B and the E and the B, and then the D and the A, or the G and the D, and then the A and the E. These are the big transducers, so there's almost not quite enough room to do that, like right in between them. So I'm going to do it a little farther over, so they're going to kind of cover the whole saddle instead. So keep them a little more spread out than that, but that should be fine, I would think. Just some thick super glue gel, pretty standard stuff. I don't like to put too much on. Paint some on there. Just enough. Use a piece of paper towel. Spread it around. I don't want it too thick in case you have to get these off, but enough that it's going to stick nice. But not gobs of it. Coming through here and kaboom. Comes up. Hold it in place for, I don't know, 10 seconds or so. I can drop this off now. That guy's stuck in place. It's completely on the, good thing the bridge plate on here comes out quite a bit forward. So I would think that sometimes, depending on how wide the bridge plate is, these bigger transducers, they may not fit all the way. You may not have enough room for the whole thing in front of these, in front of the bridge pins and the saddle. They might hang off the front of it a little bit on certain guitars. It just depends. This guitar has a pretty good sized bridge plate. Plenty of room for these larger transducers. I'm just kind of holding it in place with my finger now. Seems like it's on there nice and tight. Super glue takes 10-15 seconds. So, treble side done. I probably could do 2 of these at a time now. One here. Dead middle. One on the bass side. A little bit towards the E and the B, or the E and the A. And the X braces on this guitar are pretty wide too, so everything about, there's a lot of room in here for any kind of system. Some guitars, you know, the X brace runs into these pretty closer to the bridge pins than others. So you just kind of have to check all that out before you do it. These are going to be dead center under that saddle. All right. That's nice and tight. Let's butter them up with some super glue. Not too much. Spread it around. good. I already got this one in there though. And up and in place. Beautiful, beautiful. Super glue back together. Just hold that in place for a minute or two. Take that jig off now. Double stick tape stuck on one of the transducers. Get that off. Seem to be stuck nice and tight. Just kind of hold them with my finger up there. Cool. Successful. Take a look in there for fun and see what's going on. 1, 2, 3. 3 little pigs in there all in a row. Cool. So, all I have to do is figure out, I mean, it's got this little volume tone. I'm guessing he wants it up here on the top. You could put it, sometimes I put them on the bottom here. Some people like to hit them with their thumb. Depending on where you got room to put them. Some people like to dial them with their thumb. Other people like them up here. They usually, they tell you to put them up here. Just got to figure out where you got the room to get it in there. Again, same kind of thing. Wherever I'm going to put that, I'll hit it with a little 320 or some 400 grit. Sandpaper in the spot. Take off the rough wood. Brush it off really good. Take a piece of some naphtha on a paper towel and just wipe it off really good in there. You can see the dust that comes off, but just make sure your surface is nice and clean and prepped for that peel and stick glue. And then they stick really good and you should never have to worry about them. But what we can do now is we can get the jack in place. Take my flashlight out of there. I have this really awesome tool, which is a dowel with some tape around it that I always stick in the end so I can pull it through. When they get loose after they've been used for a while, people keep trying to tighten the outside nut and they don't realize that what you need to do is tighten this inside nut, because you have these 2 different thread sizes, a bigger thread and then the smaller thread on the outside that holds the nut in the washer and holds it in tight. But what happens usually over time, especially if they get loose and they spin a little bit, is this nut gets loose and then this larger thread will stick out through the end of the guitar, and that's how it gets loose. And it doesn't matter how much you tighten this nut and washer on the smaller thread, because if this larger thread is sticking out beyond the edge of the guitar, it's just going to be loose no matter what you do. And I see people put extra washers and touche washers on the outside of this, and they're like, I just can't get it to stay tight. And it's like, yeah, that's because you got to tighten this up on the inside. So when you put these jacks through the hole, you have to mess with it a couple times, because what you want is this larger thread to be inside of the guitar, about 1/16 of an inch or so. It's a little tricky because if you're using the strap pin on it, this needs to stick out far enough that when you put the strap pin on it, that the jack itself is out far enough that when you plug into it, your 1/4 inch plug goes all the way in and clicks in all the way. If this jack is recessed down in there because you went too far with it into the body, and the jack is way down in there on this strap pin nut, then you can't get your cord all the way into it and it won't work, or it'll work and you'll be barely making contact with the tip and it'll be cutting in and out and being weird. So it is a little bit of a of a balancing act where you need to get this out of the guitar enough that the end of the jack itself is flush with the outside of this strap pin nut, but then not too far out to where this larger thread is then sticking outside of the guitar. So usually when I do them, I'll set them up with, a nut, and another thing I'll do is when I get that all set up to where this larger thread is about 1/16 of an inch or so inside of the guitar, the block, so that when I lock the outside nut and washer onto it, it still has plenty of room that you can tighten along this smaller thread to tighten up against the nut and washer on the inside of the guitar. Yeah, they put this little hole in here on the outside so you can put like a little Allen wrench or something in there and hold it steady so it doesn't spin while you really turn that nut on the outside nice and tight. But over time, playing on them and using a strap and stuff, they start to kind of get loose for sure sometimes, and they need to be tightened up. One thing I'll do for people who really play a lot is I may put this jack in below the original strap pin thing, and so you can just use the strap pin as the strap pin and then just have the jack coming out kind of between that and the bottom of the guitar, and then just use it as a jack and separate your strap from your jack. They don't have to be the same thing. Or sometimes I'll do this, put this in, and then I'll add a strap pin above it for somebody who's a player and playing every night and putting a lot of miles and use and abuse on that jack. So they can just put the strap on a regular strap pin and then plug in with their jack on this and not combine the two, so there's not all that extra wear and tear, and they just stay put and they come less likely to come loose. So no rules that says you have to use this as a strap pin. You can just put it above it or below it and use another strap pin. I say, why not? But this is all going to be normal. So, but a lot of times what I'll do is to stop this from getting loose on the inside over time is I'll get another of these nuts and put 2 of them on there after I get it all set up, and so it locks it in place, and that keeps that nut from moving in the future and keeps it from loosening up. Sometimes you can, depending on where this nut is, you can tighten this cover up against it and keep it from moving back and loosening up. Nut, washer, then the tooth washer goes inside. So I'll put that on and I'll kind of do a dry run here and pull it out. And so that's where it's going to end up being about. I'm going to put another nut on it. Is that one? Usually have extra parts. There's one. It's a bigger one too. So I'll put 2 nuts on this and lock them together, and that way they won't move ever. And that'll keep that from happening where this wants to slowly work out of the guitar and then get loose. So now I got 2 nuts on there, and they're locked together so they're not moving anywhere. If I pull those through, let's see where we are. I might need to go a little farther in there so it sticks out a little more. Now I'm hitting this sleeve, so I got multiple things working here. I got the sleeve cover holding that nut in place, and then 2 nuts locked together, washer and a tooth washer, so that thing ain't going nowhere. That looks good. Perfect. If you get all this set up first, where it's not going to go anywhere, 2 nuts on there plus the sleeve blocking the back of it, washer, tooth washer, that's all set up going out to start with. That'll never come loose or move, and then it'll never move out of the guitar so far that this bigger thread is sticking out beyond the edge of the guitar, so it'll never get loose. You can, I mean, it might get loose, that nut on the outside will get loose, but you can always just tighten that and it'll always tighten right back up again. That's the plan. Then I get a washer, nut. Tight, and then if I put this on there, covers it, and that jack sticks out close enough to the end of that strap pin that it's not going to block the cord from going in. Right here and see if we can see what this all looks like. There's our transducers on our bridge plate. Wire clips going in there. So that all looks good. That jack is coming out on that strap pin almost to the end, not quite. It's down inside there a little bit, but that lets you know you got plenty of room to tighten on the outside still. And still sticking out far enough that the cord plug goes all the way in and clicks in nice and tight. And then we'll cover up this hole. So I got this all shaped, and this old piece of it came as a cutout from another guitar. It's kind of a pain to get this weird shape instead of doing just a square. I almost cut it out, but I managed. Just can't get my hand all the way back in there. Where are you? There you go. So I try to glue that on there, and I got this kind of thin piece of Lexan that I can put over it and put a couple clamps on it just to keep the edges down tight. It almost matches the radius of this side. It's very close, but not quite perfect. But it was already finished and everything, and then I kind of sanded it a little bit and sprayed some satin lacquer on it just so it matches the satin lacquer on the guitar, because it was all shiny before. And I kind of got some glue that's put a little bit of dye in, a little bit of water based, just some brown in there to kind of. But just gonna do wood glue. It's pretty tight. It's tight but loose enough that I can get it flush. Take a slightly damp glue rag and clean off the excess glue while I'm at it. Kind of use this Lexan as a way of pushing it even so I don't have to push on this corner and that corner with my finger and constantly popping one thing up and teetering it back and forth. Seam, I got a little short flip with some of this glue. I put a little bit of mahogany dust in this glue to thicken it up a little bit. Flush. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this on here. Just want to hold it into place. I put some of these long jerseys on here. We'll do one on the back side going this way. See, I'm getting some squeeze out there. I tried to fit it just tight enough that it would go flush with some pressure without popping through. Kind of give the edges of the plug a little bit of an angle so they're fit tighter at the very top surface. Cool. I'm going to let that sit and glue set up, and we'll clean it off again. And I think that's it. So I got this pickup system, this JJB pickup system installed in this guitar, and we got our hole plugged up, and yeah, it looks pretty good. No longer a hole. Jack installed. So yeah, we got our small volume control peekaboo on the sound hole. So that's just the guitar acoustically. It's a nice little guitar. It's just a cheapo. It's a quart. But guy likes it, so we put in this JJB pickup system, and I've already tried it out, and it sounds great. I mean, it's amazing. For a passive piezo pickup, I don't think I've ever heard anything that sounded as good as this thing does, and it blows K and K out of the water. So turn the volume up. Oh, let's turn the standby on the amp. So I'm just going straight into a twin, early 70s twin reverb here. Nice little volume control. Hey, how's it going? The owner of the guitar just showed up. So yeah, it sounds really good. Am I in that frame?